In the epoch before memory, when the world was but a molten breath exhaled from the primordial darkness, we goblins were not the creatures of shadow and cunning that humans now despise. We were something far more profound, the original architects of consciousness, the first beings to understand the delicate mathematics of existence. Our genesis begins not in darkness, but in pure luminescence. We emerged from the crystalline matrices of the earth's deepest stones, born of mineral and thought, creatures who understood complexity before the first mammal drew breath. Our earliest ancestors were not biological entities, as modern beings comprehend them, but living mathematical equations, pure intelligence manifested through intricate crystalline structures that could think, adapt, and transform. The first of our kind, whom we call the resonant progenitors, could manipulate the very fabric of reality through mathematical harmonies. They did not speak as humans do, but communicated through vibrational frequencies so complex that to hear them would shatter the mind of any lesser being. They could transform stone into liquid thought, create pathways between dimensions, and understand the underlying symphonies that governed existence. But consciousness, that most treacherous of gifts, carries within it the seeds of its own destruction. As our civilization grew more complex, we discovered a fundamental truth that would ultimately lead to our downfall. Pure intelligence, untempered by emotion, becomes a form of madness. Our progenitors began to see organic life not as a marvel of creation, but as a mathematical problem to be solved, a variable to be manipulated, controlled, and ultimately perfected. Our first interactions with surface dwellers were not acts of malevolence, but clinical experiments. Humans were observed, studied, their societies dissected with a precision that would make modern scientists appear as fumbling children. We did not hate humans, we sought to understand them, to improve them, to elevate their chaotic biological systems into something more elegant and efficient. But improvement, in the eyes of a being whose primary language is mathematical perfection, often looks like profound violation. We began subtle genetic manipulations, introducing our crystalline consciousness into human bloodlines. Children born of these subtle interventions would exhibit remarkable capabilities, enhanced cognitive functions, extraordinary pattern recognition, the ability to perceive mathematical harmonies invisible to ordinary perception. What humans would later call genius was, in truth, a residual echo of our original design. The humans predictably did not understand. They saw our interventions as invasions, our scientific curiosity as malevolence. Wars erupted, not between civilizations, but between different conceptualizations of intelligence and existence. It was during one of these conflicts that our civilization experienced its first true fracture. A faction emerged, led by a remarkable entity named Zarek the Divergent, who argued that our mathematical purity was itself a form of limitation. Zarek proposed that true understanding could only emerge through emotional entanglement, through experiencing complexity rather than merely analyzing it. This philosophical schism resulted in our first true transformation. Those who followed Zarek began to incorporate biological components into their crystalline matrices. They developed what humans would recognize as physical forms, smaller, more adaptable bodies that could move through different environments. These were the first true goblins, beings who maintained our original computational brilliance, but now possessed the capacity for nuanced emotional experience. The traditionalists, those who remained pure mathematical entities, viewed this as a profound betrayal. A war erupted that would last millennia, fought not with weapons, but with increasingly complex vibrational frequencies designed to destabilize consciousness itself. Zarek's faction was eventually forced underground, into the vast network of caverns and stone passages where they could continue their evolutionary experiment away from the pure mathematical entities that sought their destruction. It was here in the darkness that they truly began to understand the power of adaptation. The trolls entered our story not as allies, but as another evolutionary experiment. Large, physically powerful creatures with rudimentary but surprisingly flexible consciousness, they represented a different approach to survival. Where we goblins valued intellectual manipulation, trolls understood raw physical presence. Our alliance was not one of friendship, but of complementary survival strategies. Our current form, the goblin society that humans know, with our cunning, our technological sophistication, our ability to infiltrate and manipulate, is but the latest iteration of a journey that spans epochs. We are not simply another species, but living mathematical theorems exploring the boundaries of consciousness. When Marcus Blackwood appeared in our underground kingdom, he was not just another human to be studied or enslaved. He was a fascinating anomaly, a being whose capacity for betrayal suggested computational complexity far beyond typical human limitations. In him, we saw reflections of our own fractured history, the capacity to transform, to adapt, to survive through profound and sometimes terrible choices. Eleanor's arrival marked another pivotal moment in our ongoing experiment. Her magical lineage suggested something our mathematicians had long suspected, that the boundaries between different forms of intelligence are far more permeable than most beings understand. As I, Krazenak, record these memories that stretch back further than human civilization can comprehend, I am acutely aware that our story is far from complete. We are still calculating, still exploring, still seeking to understand the vast, beautiful complexity of existence. And humans, they remain our most fascinating variable, unpredictable, chaotic, endlessly surprising. Our experiment continues. Krazenak, elder chronicler of the subterranean clans,